You didn't fall for them when they were available. You fell for them after they became your safe person. After you knew their voice, their habits, their insecurities, the way they laugh when they're genuinely comfortable. The tiny things nobody else notices. And somehow, after months of feeling absolutely nothing romantic, you suddenly want them, badly. But now they're dating someone, or they're moving away, or they're your best friend, or they've already told you they only see you platonically. And you're sitting there thinking, why now? That's the part people don't understand about demisexual attraction. Sometimes the feelings don't arrive when the opportunity is there. They arrive after the opportunity has disappeared. And that can mess with your head in ways that are difficult to explain to someone who experiences attraction immediately. Because you don't always fall for someone's appearance first. You fall for the person they become after you feel safe enough to actually see them. And safety takes time. A lot of time. At first, they may be nothing special to you romantically. You can recognize that they're attractive. You can enjoy their company. You can even understand why everyone else likes them. But inside, nothing. No pull. No urgency. No fantasy. Just friendship. Then something begins changing. Not dramatically. Almost invisibly. You start looking forward to their messages. You remember things they told you weeks ago. You notice when they're quieter than usual. You start wanting to tell them things before you tell anyone else. Their opinion starts carrying more weight. Their absence feels different. And one day something happens that makes you stop. Maybe they touch your arm. Maybe they look at you differently. Maybe they tell you something vulnerable. Maybe you realize you haven't stopped thinking about them all week. And suddenly the thought appears, wait, I think I actually like them. That realization can be terrifying, because you weren't prepared for it. You thought you understood the relationship. You had a category for this person. Friend, safe, familiar, non-romantic. And now your brain has quietly deleted the label. That's when the emotional investigation begins. You replay conversations. You analyze messages. You question your own motives. Do I actually want them? Or am I just attached? Am I confusing emotional intimacy with romantic attraction? Why did I never feel this before? And then comes the question that hurts the most. Why did this happen now? Because the timing is often terrible. Maybe they just got into a relationship. Maybe they started seeing someone else. Maybe they moved across the country. Maybe they told you they're not looking for anything. Maybe you've spent years building a friendship that suddenly feels too valuable to risk. So you do what many people do when something matters too much. You hide it. You become normal. You answer the message. You laugh at the joke. You pretend nothing changed. Meanwhile, internally, everything changed. That is the strange cruelty of late attraction. The outside relationship can look exactly the same, while your internal experience has completely transformed. And nobody knows. Not even them. Especially them. You might start watching yourself around them. How long did I look at them? Did that sound flirtatious? Was I jealous just now? Why did that comment bother me? Why do I care who they're talking to? You become your own surveillance system. Every emotion gets investigated. Every reaction gets questioned. Every interaction gets replayed. And eventually, attraction stops feeling exciting. It starts feeling dangerous. Because now there is something to lose. Before you had feelings, the friendship was safe. You could be yourself. You didn't have to wonder whether they wanted you. You didn't have to interpret every message. You didn't have to worry about rejection. But attraction introduces uncertainty. Suddenly their attention feels like evidence. Their distance feels like evidence. Their affection feels like evidence. And your brain starts searching for answers that may not exist. This is where modern dating culture makes everything worse. We're living in a world obsessed with instant chemistry. Dating apps ask you to decide whether you want someone before you know them. Swipe left, swipe right, match, message, meet, chemistry, yes or no. People are trained to make emotional decisions before emotional intimacy has even had time to develop. But what happens when your attraction needs something slower? What happens when your brain doesn't say, "They're hot, I want them"? What if it says, "I trust them"? Then, "I feel safe with them"? Then, "I miss them"? Then, "I can't imagine my life without them"? And only much later, "I want them." That's not a convenience system. Modern dating rewards speed. Your attraction may require depth, and those two systems don't always cooperate. This is why a demisexual person can reject someone who seems perfect, and later develop intense feelings for someone who was never supposed to become a romantic possibility. Because attraction wasn't missing. The emotional conditions weren't there yet. And that distinction matters. But there is another problem. When attraction is rare, it can feel enormous when it finally happens. You might think, "This almost never happens to me. So this person must be different." Maybe they are. But scarcity can make emotions feel even bigger. When something rarely happens, your mind can attach enormous meaning to it. You don't just think, "I like them." You start thinking, "What if they're my only chance?" And that's where things become dangerous. Because now you're not only afraid of rejection. You're afraid of losing your opportunity to ever feel this way again. So you start comparing yourself to everyone around them. Who's more attractive? Who's easier to love? Who's more confident? Who makes them laugh more? Who gets their attention? And eventually the question stops being, "Do they want me?" It becomes, "What's wrong with me that they don't?" That's a completely different kind of pain. And it can trigger one of the ugliest emotional survival mechanisms. Self-editing. You start changing yourself before anyone even asks you to. You become less emotional, less honest, less needy, more mysterious, more available, then less available. You experiment with personalities. You monitor your appearance. You calculate your responses. You try to become the version of yourself you think they would choose. And you may not even realize you're doing it. That's how emotional self-erasure begins. Not with someone telling you that you're too much. With you becoming afraid that you might be. So you make yourself smaller, quieter, easier, more convenient. Anything that might reduce the possibility of rejection. But here's the irony. The more you edit yourself to become desirable, the less likely you are to experience genuine intimacy. Because someone isn't connecting with you anymore. They're connecting with the version of you that you engineered for approval. And that can create another painful contradiction. You desperately want to be chosen, while becoming terrified of being fully seen. That's not romance. That's survival. And sometimes the person you're attracted to isn't even the real problem. The problem is what their existence activates inside you. The fear of being replaceable. The fear of being misunderstood. The fear that if you reveal what you feel, everything good will disappear. because you're desperate for proof. Proof that you matter. Proof that they would notice your absence. Proof that you're not imagining the connection. And this is where attraction can become emotionally exhausting, because you're no longer simply experiencing a feeling. You're managing risk of that feeling. That's the hidden cost. People think falling for someone is supposed to feel exciting, but when the person already matters to you, it can feel like